Adam Archer hadn't been on a date in 6 years, and now he was standing outside a downtown steakhouse in jeans that were probably too faded, holding a single flower he picked up last minute from a corner store, wondering how the hell he ended up here. "Dad, do you even know what she looks like?" Olivia asked from the back seat of his beat-up SUV, her tiny voice full of suspicion as she clutched her stuffed giraffe, Mr. Wiggles. "Nope," Adam replied, adjusting his collar in the mirror. "It's a blind date, Liv." "That means I'm going in blind," she squinted at him. That sounds like a bad idea. He couldn't argue with her. The date had been set up by his coworker's girlfriend who claimed she had a super sweet, down-to-earth friend who was tired of the usual guys. Whatever that meant. He didn't have time to decode it. Between working 2 jobs and raising Olivia alone since her mom walked out, Adam had barely enough energy to shower, much less date. He kissed Olivia's forehead. "You'll be with Mrs. Clark for an hour. I'll be back before bedtime." "You better be, mister." Wiggles and I don't trust strangers. Adam laughed and helped her out of the car. Inside the restaurant, he felt like a fish out of water. The place was not what he expected. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, waiters that looked like they should be in movies. He tugged at the collar of his shirt again. "Reservation for Archer," he said, feeling out of place. The host nodded and gestured toward a corner booth. "She's already here." Adam turned and stopped breathing for a second. Sitting there was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. Long chestnut hair that curled at the ends, sharp but kind eyes, a red dress that looked expensive without trying too hard. She stood when she saw him, offering a smile that knocked the wind out of his chest. "You're Adam." "Yes," he said, walking over, feeling like his shoes suddenly weighed 100 pounds. "You're Nina," she said, reaching out to shake his hand. Her grip was confident, warm. "I wasn't sure you'd show. Honestly, me neither." They sat down, and the waiter arrived immediately, addressing Nina by name. "Good evening, Miss Fairmont. Your usual wine?" Adam blinked. Miss Fairmont. Her name rang a bell, but he couldn't place it, probably just a coincidence. She didn't seem uptight. In fact, she was smiling at him like he was the most interesting thing in the room. "You okay?" she asked, tilting her head. "Yeah, this place is fancy." Nina laughed softly. "Don't worry, I've had worse blind dates. One guy brought his mom." Adam chuckled. "I left my 6-year-old in the car." Her eyes widened. "Kidding," he added quickly, then rubbed the back of his neck. "She's with a neighbor. I'm not that terrible. Single dad?" she asked, sipping her wine. "Yep, Olivia's my entire world." Nina's expression softened. "I love that." He raised an eyebrow. "You do?" "Yeah, my dad raised me on his own too. I think that kind of love is rare and powerful." He hadn't expected that. The conversation kept flowing. They talked about everything: Olivia's obsession with giraffes, Adam's job fixing HVAC units, Nina's love for travel and architecture. He liked her. Genuinely liked her. Still, something felt off. Not about her, she was amazing, but about the way the waiters hovered, how everyone seemed to know her name. And when she excused herself halfway through dinner, the manager came over and asked Adam if he was enjoying his evening with Miss Fairmont. Miss Fairmont. That name again. He Googled it under the table just for fun. His heart stopped. Nina Fairmont. CEO of Fairmont Ventures, billionaire, real estate mogul. One of the richest women in the country. His mouth went dry. He looked over and there she was, walking back toward him like she hadn't just blown up his entire world. "You okay?" she asked, sliding back into her seat. He swallowed. You're Nina Fairmont." She paused. "I was wondering how long it would take. You're a billionaire." "Technically, yes." He stared at her. "And you're on a blind date with me, a guy who lives in a 2-bedroom apartment and eats cereal for dinner 3 nights a week." Nina leaned forward, her eyes steady. "Because none of that matters. To you? No, Adam, to us. It doesn't matter to us unless you make it matter." He sat back, stunned. "This is insane." "I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't come here tonight to judge. I just wanted to meet someone real. And you. You're the most real man I've met in years." He looked at her, really looked, and instead of seeing the articles, the money, the headlines, he saw the woman who laughed at his dumb jokes, asked about his daughter, and didn't blink when he said he worked 2 jobs. "You're not what I expected," he said quietly. "Neither are you." They stared at each other for a moment too long, then Nina reached across the table and took his hand. Come on, she said, grinning. Let's get out of here. Where? Somewhere less shiny. I want to meet Olivia, he blinked. Wait, you want to meet my daughter? I want to meet the girl who owns your heart. He hesitated, but something in her voice, soft, sure, sincere, made him nod. Okay, he said. Let's go. And for the first time in a long time, Adam felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't doing this alone anymore. The air outside was cooler than expected, the kind that whispered of early spring but still carried a bite. Nina wrapped her coat tighter as they walked side by side toward Adam's SUV, her heels clicking against the sidewalk. She didn't complain when he opened the passenger door for her, didn't flinch at the scuffed seats or the faint scent of apple juice soaked into the upholstery. Instead, she climbed in like she'd done it 1,000 times. Adam adjusted the rearview mirror, glancing at her with a sideways look. You sure you want to do this? Nina buckled her seatbelt. Absolutely. They pulled away from the restaurant, the city lights fading behind them as they moved toward the quieter side of town. Adam kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other tapping against his thigh. He didn't speak for several blocks, not until they passed a corner bakery with a flickering sign. You ever been in a car without automatic windows? He asked, flicking his thumb toward the crank on her door. Nina turned the handle slowly, raising her brow as the window groaned downward. I think I was 6. Right, he muttered, chuckling under his breath. The neighborhood changed as they drove deeper and less polished, more lived in. Fences leaned, porches sagged, but lights glowed warmly behind curtains. Adam pulled into a narrow driveway beside a modest duplex, the porch light casting a soft pool on the cracked concrete. Wait here a sec, he said, jumping out and jogging up to the house next door. A moment later, an older woman with silver-streaked hair and a cardigan opened the door. They exchanged a few words, and then Adam returned. She's finishing a puzzle with Mrs. Clark, he said as he opened Nina's door. You ready? Nina nodded, smoothing her hair. As I'll ever be. Inside, the scent of cinnamon hung in the air. Olivia was on the floor cross-legged, carefully fitting a corner piece into a nearly finished jigsaw of a zoo. She looked up when Adam stepped in, her eyes narrowing when she saw Nina behind him. That's not Mr. Wiggles, she said, pointing at Nina. Nina crouched, not hesitating. Nope, I'm Nina. You must be Olivia. Olivia stood slowly, arms crossed. You look like someone on TV, Nina laughed. I get that sometimes, you talk fancy. I went to a lot of schools with boring teachers. Olivia's eyes narrowed again, but then she tilted her head. Do you know how to do a fishtail braid? Not well, Nina admitted, but I can learn. You could teach me. Olivia considered this, then gave a solemn nod. Okay. But only if you don't mess it up. Adam leaned against the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching the two of them with a strange tightness in his chest. He wasn't used to this people fitting into his life so quickly. He was used to protecting Olivia from disappointments, not inviting them in. Later, when Olivia was tucked into bed and Mrs. Clark had gone back home, he walked Nina out to her car. She stood by the curb, her breath visible in the night air. That went better than I expected, she said, glancing up at him. She didn't threaten to exile you, so that's a win. She's sharp. And honest. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. Neither do you, Nina said, stepping a little closer. You've been holding back since dinner. Adam rubbed the back of his neck. I don't know what to do with someone like you. What does that mean? You're from a whole different world. Nina's gaze didn't waver. I built that world. It doesn't define me. He studied her, searching for cracks for the part where this all broke apart. Do you have any idea how hard it is for a guy like me to trust that? I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I do want you to try. Adam didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. He held it out to her. What's this? Olivia drew it during dinner, said you looked like a princess and wanted you to have it. Nina unfolded the paper slowly. The drawing was crude stick figures, a crown, a heart between two people, but she stared at it like it was something priceless. She likes you, Adam said quietly. That's rare. I don't take that lightly. The silence stretched for a moment before she looked up. Can I see you again, not as Miss Fairmont, just as me? I don't even know what just you looks like. Then let me show you. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay, Nina smiled different from before. Smaller. Real. She climbed into the sleek black car that had pulled up with silent precision, the driver stepping out to open the door for her. Adam watched as she disappeared inside, the vehicle blending into the night like it had never been there. He stood in the quiet for a few minutes, the folded edge of Olivia's drawing still in his hand. This wasn't what he planned. But maybe, just maybe, it was exactly what they needed. Adam hadn't planned on seeing her again so soon. But 3 days later, Nina stood outside his building, holding a paper bag with paintbrushes sticking out the top, and a large smile that made his stomach twist in ways he didn't have time for. "I brought art supplies," she said as he opened the door, her eyes flicking toward Olivia standing barefoot on the carpet behind him. "Thought maybe we could paint a mural on that blank wall in your kitchen." Olivia stepped forward without hesitation. "What kind of mural?" "Whatever you want." "I was hoping for something with stars." Adam glanced between them, rubbing a hand over his jaw. "You paint." "I used to." "It's been a while." The three of them spent the afternoon dragging an old drop cloth from the closet, taping off edges with careful hands, and mixing paint in mismatched bowls from the kitchen. Olivia was quiet at first, but by the time she finished a swirling moon in the corner, she was giving Nina unsolicited advice on brush angles and color balance. "Yours looks like a sad cloud," she told her bluntly. Nina laughed without offense. "I was going for abstract. It's working." "It's very weird." Adam leaned in close to Nina as Olivia ran to rinse her brush. "You're brave. I've closed billion-dollar deals with men twice my size, but this is scarier." "Why?" "Because I care how she sees me. I care how you see me." He didn't respond. He didn't know how to. But later, when Olivia was asleep and the wall was covered in constellations and comets, he poured 2 glasses of orange soda, the only thing left in the fridge, and handed her one. "I don't have wine." "I don't need wine," she said, tapping her glass against his. "This is perfect." They stood in silence for a moment, the hum of the fridge filling the space. "You're not what I thought you'd be," Adam admitted, his voice lower now. "I figured someone like you would be colder, sharper, more. Glass office, less finger paint." "That's not what I was going to say." She raised an eyebrow. "Then what?" "I thought maybe you wouldn't stick around." Nina's expression shifted. "I'm not here to play house for a weekend and vanish, Adam. I didn't say you were." "No. But I see the way you look at me sometimes. Like you're waiting for me to get bored and move on." He stared down at his glass. "You're used to jets and boardrooms. And I've got a leaky sink and a kid who puts carrot slices in her pockets. I like that about your life." "You like that now," he said, his voice quiet. "But what about when it's not cute anymore, when it's hard and messy and not convenient?" Nina didn't hesitate. "Then I'll stay messy. And I'll fight like hell to be in it with you." He didn't know how to answer that. He hadn't let anyone in this far since Olivia's mother left, and even then, he hadn't trusted fully. But Nina was standing here, paint on her hands, hair in a loose braid she'd let Olivia do, talking about fighting for them like it wasn't even a question. "You know," she added after a beat, "you could ask me things too. I'm not just this mystery in heels." Adam looked up. "Okay. Why did you agree to a blind date with someone you knew nothing about?" "Because I'd just gotten out of a relationship with someone who cared more about my name than my voice. Because I was lonely. Because I wanted something real. And you thought you'd find that with a guy who drives a truck that needs new tires. I didn't know what I'd find, but I'm glad I found you." He watched her for a long moment, the edges of his defenses cracking further than he wanted to admit. "What was he like?" he asked finally. "Who?" "The guy before me." Nina hesitated. "Controlled, polished, we had everything on paper, but I never laughed with him the way I laugh with you." Adam nodded slowly. "Did he want kids?" "No," she said, her voice softer now. "He said they'd slow us down. And you?" "I've always wanted a family, but I thought that dream was behind glass, untouchable. And now, I see it in your daughter's giraffe blanket, in the way you cut her sandwiches diagonally. In the way you look at her like she's your whole world." Adam didn't speak. He couldn't. She was peeling him open with every word, and he wasn't ready for how much that terrified him. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," she added gently, "but I want to be someone Olivia can count on." "Someone you can count on." He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat too big to ignore. "You don't even blink when you say that, because I mean it. You barely know me. I know enough. He stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her eyes. You're not afraid of this. I'm afraid of not trying. The words settled between them like gravity, pulling him in. He didn't kiss her, not yet. But something passed between them, a quiet promise neither of them said aloud. Then Olivia's voice called faintly from the bedroom. Mister. Wiggles fell again, Nina smiled. I should probably help him up. Adam watched her disappear down the hall, her steps light, familiar, like she belonged there, and for the first time in a long time he wondered if maybe she did. Rain tapped softly at the windows as Adam leaned against the hallway wall, phone pressed to his ear. He watched Olivia in the living room, carefully lining up her stuffed animals for what looked like the 15th tea party of the day. Nina's voice came through the line, warm but tight. I need to ask you something, she said, and I need you to be honest. He shifted his weight. That's a heavy way to start a call. I'm flying to London tomorrow. There's a property deal that's falling apart. I'll be gone for 3 days, maybe 4. But I don't want to disappear on you like this is some pause button. You're not disappearing, he said. You're working. I don't want to be someone who drops in and out of your life like it's convenient. Adam glanced at Olivia again. Then don't be. The line went quiet for a second. I want you to come with me, Nina said. Just you and Olivia. I already cleared it. I've got a suite with enough space and I'll only be in meetings during the day. The rest of the time I want to be with you. He let out a low breath. That's a lot. I know it is. I can't just leave work. I've got a repair scheduled on Friday and Olivia's got school. I already checked, she said. Schools are closed for a teacher training day, and I called your boss, Brad. He said he owed you 2 favors and this would count for both. Adam blinked. You called my boss. I didn't want to blindside you, but I also didn't want logistics to be the reason you said no. He ran a hand through his hair, heart pounding. You really want us there? Yes, and not just for London, she said. I want this to be real. I want a life with you, Adam. Not just weekends or dinners or paint on the walls. He didn't answer right away. Outside, the rain picked up, heavier now. Olivia giggled in the other room, pouring invisible tea into a plastic cup. I've never flown anywhere, he said. I've never even been on a plane. Then let's make your first flight unforgettable. He finally cracked a smile. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything. The flight left early the next morning. Nina met them at the private terminal, her coat half-buttoned and her hair pulled into a simple twist. Olivia clutched Mr. Wiggles tightly, but didn't hesitate when Nina offered her hand. The jet was sleek and quiet, with butter-soft seats and a cabin attendant who already knew Olivia preferred apple slices over grapes. Adam sat back, stunned into silence as the plane lifted off. Nina nudged his arm. Still think this is a dream? He looked at her. I don't even know what to think. Start with this, she said, placing her hand over his. I want this to be our beginning. London was a blur of cobblestone streets and rainy afternoons, but Nina made sure every moment felt intentional. While she attended meetings, Adam and Olivia explored local parks, found a tiny bakery with warm scones and fed ducks along the Thames. Every night, Nina returned to the suite with stories, her voice softer when she spoke to Olivia, her gaze lingering on Adam. On the 3rd night, after Olivia had fallen asleep beneath a blanket of borrowed hotel plushies, Nina stepped out onto the balcony. Adam followed. You're different here, he said. How so? Lighter, like you're not holding something back. She turned, her expression open. I've spent most of my life being the sharpest person in the room. The youngest, the first, the only. I had to be hard to survive that. But with you, I don't have to prove anything. He leaned on the rail beside her. You don't. I know that now. The wind tugged at her sleeves, but neither of them moved to go inside. I've been thinking, she said, glancing sideways, about what it would mean to really do this, merge our lives. That's a big word, merge, I know. But I want Olivia to have more than visits and hotel stays. I want a home, a real one, with both of you, no hiding, no pretending. Adam took a long breath. You're not scared. Yes, but being without you scares me more. He turned to face her fully. I don't have a lot to offer you. I can't buy penthouses or fly you to Paris for the weekend. I don't want any of that. I want a man who shows up. Who makes breakfast and stays up through nightmares and knows how to fix a leaky faucet. I've never had anyone fight for me like this. Then let me be the first. She stepped closer, her hand resting over his heart. Come home with me, she said. Let's stop pretending this is temporary. He looked at her, really looked, and saw a future that didn't feel so impossible anymore. All right, he said. Let's go home. Back in the States, Nina didn't waste time. A quiet house on the edge of the city, with a backyard big enough for Olivia to run wild, became theirs by the end of the month. Adam gave notice at work and with Nina's help started his own repair business. She never stepped on his toes, never tried to turn it into a project. She just believed in him, and that was more valuable than anything money could buy. Olivia adjusted faster than anyone expected, and within weeks, her drawings filled the new refrigerator, now covered in stars and giraffes and occasionally 3 stick figures holding hands. One evening, as they set the table for dinner, Olivia tugged at Nina's sleeve. Are you going to be my mom now? Nina knelt beside her. Would you like that? Olivia nodded, twisting a napkin in her hands. Only if you promise not to leave. I promise, Nina said, voice steady. Forever and ever. Later that night, after the dishes were washed and Olivia had drifted to sleep, Adam met Nina in the backyard, fireflies blinking lazily in the dusk. You know, he said, I used to think love was something that passed me by. Something for other people. And now I know it was just waiting for the right person to crash into my life. She leaned into him, her head resting on his chest. I wasn't looking for love when I met you, Nina whispered. Neither was I. But somehow we found it anyway. And beneath the quiet sky, with their future stretching wide and wild before them, they held on to each other, 2 unlikely souls who never saw it coming, but who were exactly what the other needed all along. The first morning they woke up in the new house, Adam found Nina in the backyard barefoot, sleeves rolled up, holding a shovel. Her hair was loose, her cheeks flushed from the early spring chill. A crooked wooden sign sat in the grass beside her, painted in Olivia's unmistakable handwriting. Our garden. You're planting things now? He asked, stepping onto the porch. She turned, brushing soil from her hands. Olivia wants strawberries. I thought we'd try tomatoes, too. He walked to her, kissed her temple. What happened to board meetings and power suits? I'll still run the company, she said, pushing a lock of hair behind her ear. But I want this too, dirt under my nails, sun on my face. It feels like mine in a way the skyline never did. Later that day, while Olivia was at a birthday party supervised by their neighbor's teenage daughter, who Nina had personally interviewed like she was hiring a senior executive, Adam took her to a lot on the edge of town. It wasn't much yet, just a plot of land, a small sign out front that read Archer Heating and Home Repair, coming soon. You bought this? She asked, eyes wide. I leased it. The paperwork went through yesterday. I've been thinking about it for months, but I wanted to be sure it was the right time. She walked the length of the gravel, taking it in. You didn't tell me. I wanted to surprise you. You believed in me before I did. This is because of that. When she turned to him, he noticed the way her expression softened, not with awe or disbelief, but with something deeper. Pride, yes, but also trust, the kind that didn't waver. I'm proud of you, she said. Not because of this place. Because you did it on your terms. That night, they lit a fire in the backyard pit, Olivia wrapped in a blanket between them, holding a mug of warm cider. The stars were faint through the haze of the city, but they found what constellations they could. Nina traced one with her finger in the sky. That one looks like a giraffe, she whispered. Olivia grinned. It's Mr. Wiggles' constellation, Adam chuckled. He's finally famous. As the fire burned low and Olivia's head fell against Nina's shoulder, Adam leaned in close. I never thought I'd have this. Nina looked at him. What? A family. A future with someone who sees me, all of me. She reached for his hand. I didn't think I could belong anywhere outside my world, but you gave me a place to land. The next weekend, Nina invited her father to visit. They sat on the porch while Olivia painted her nails with glitter polish and Adam grilled in the background, whistling off key. Edwin Fairmont, a man who once made headlines for acquiring 3 companies in a single week, was quiet for a long stretch before speaking. She's different, he said, watching his daughter. Happier, Adam nodded. She's earned it. She told me about you, about Olivia. It's good what you've built here, honest. I'm not trying to impress anyone. Edwin gave a small, approving nod. That's exactly why you do. Later that night, after the dishes were put away and Olivia had gone to sleep with glitter still on her fingertips, Nina pulled Adam aside. He liked you, she said. I didn't think he would. He sees what I see. Adam touched her face gently. What do you see? A man who didn't need to be rich to be extraordinary. She kissed him then, slow and certain, and afterward they stood in the hallway outside Olivia's room, listening to her soft breathing, the quiet hum of the night settling around them. 2 months later, they married under a canopy of string lights in the backyard. Olivia wore a crown of daisies and carried a miniature bouquet that matched Nina's. The ceremony was small, just close friends, a few family members, and neighbors who had become their village. Nina wore a simple ivory dress with delicate lace at the sleeves. Adam, in a dark blue suit he'd never imagined himself wearing, couldn't take his eyes off her. When she reached him at the altar, she didn't wait for the officiant. I never imagined a life like this, she said, voice steady. But standing here with you feels like coming home. He took her hands. You turned my world upside down, and I wouldn't change a thing. Afterward, Olivia insisted on the first dance, dragging both of them onto the lawn as music played softly from a speaker. They twirled under the stars, the three of them spinning in slow, uncoordinated circles, laughter echoing through the warm night air. Later, as the last guest left and the lights dimmed, Nina stood barefoot on the grass, holding the edge of her dress in one hand, the other reaching for Adam's. Do you remember what you said the night we met? She asked. He frowned thoughtfully. Something awkward, probably. You said you weren't sure what you were doing there, that it was a blind date, he smiled. Turns out I wasn't blind at all. She stepped closer. Neither was I. They kissed as the sprinkler clicked on in the distance, misting the garden Nina had started from scratch. Strawberries had begun to bloom. Tomatoes hung green and full from their vines. Inside, Olivia had already fallen asleep, Mr. Wiggles tucked beneath one arm, her face peaceful and sun-kissed. Their life wasn't extravagant, but it was rich in everything that mattered: trust, laughter, and a love that no longer questioned its place. Adam had once thought he was too ordinary for someone like her. Nina had once believed she was too complicated for someone like him. But together, they were just right. And in the quiet rhythm of their days between school drop-offs and garden planting, between board meetings and leaky faucets, they built something no amount of money could buy: a life. A home. A forever.